microphone was muted. Now it's unmuted. What's going on, everybody? We're just getting the show started here in a couple of moments. Hang tight. Give everybody a chance to jump in here into the chat. Here we can go like this. Here we go. Still pre-show. Don't freak out. Text message just went out. Shout out to Caretaker Dan over there in the chat. Got a new batch of people joining the text message alert system this week. It's funny because I don't think we pitched it very much. Although I guess it is blinking and scrolling on the video all day, every day. If you haven't yet, text the word Canary to 877-740-3226. That is the word Canary to 877-740-3226. That'll get you on the list. I will personally send you text messages throughout the week just to let you know that we're getting the show started, so you never miss a show unless you really, really want to. You can also text that number back if you'd like, whenever you want, for whatever reason you want. I cannot carry on a conversation with you via text because it is very expensive. But I see them, I read them. Sometimes I read them on the show. It's a good time. It's a good time. So go ahead and give that a try. Give that a go. And remember, this is a call-in show. You know, I had a funny feeling today. I don't know. Look, I'll be the first to tell you that I should not be trusting every funny feeling I get. I get funny feelings all the time. Kind of had a funny feeling about today's show. Don't know what's going to happen. We'll find out. We'll see. Okay, and one last thing before we get started. Remember, it is a call-in show, okay? The whole point of a call-in show is for people to call in to the show. In the description of this video, wherever you are, look down in the description. You'll see a call-in link. This call-in link. Click on that link or copy and paste it in your browser. Answer a couple questions, and it'll be easy peasy. Okay? You'll be in the back room, and when it's time to talk, I'll bring you up on stage. It'll be a blast. I think that's it. Okay. Well, we better officially get this show started here in a moment. So you know how this works. I'm going to go like this. Music's going to fade. And I'm going to play the jingle, and then we'll get going.
Called it. We got a caller. We got a caller on the line here.
What's going on, everybody? It is I, your best buddy, Basil, and you are attending Canary Clubhouse. Just an opportunity for everybody to reorient, get the most important things straight. And it's not necessarily current events, although it's a fun week. I had a fun week on News Talk. It was a little different this week, obviously, for a couple of reasons. But I don't know. It felt a little deeper, a little different, a little more jumping into the weird and the fun instead of just sort of enumerating the current events. You know, it's been mentioned. I mentioned it. Others have mentioned it. That one of the interesting things we're seeing in culture right now is we've been living for about 10 years, probably more than 10 years, but I'd say it's really been obvious for the past 10 years where politics is popular culture. Like that is, that's the thing, right? It's what's the word? I'm looking for another word than just pop culture, but that's kind of the thing, right? Pop culture is politics. Politics is pop culture. And, you know, it's easy to kind of take this for granted, where these days the political goings on, the characters, the political characters, the the events, big and small, the secret, the quiet bits, the this, the that, the insider trading. This is all like kind of a part of our entertainment sphere almost. Not everybody, of course, but not everybody is a Pokemon fan, or not everybody likes Die Hard, but more or less, politics kind of was raised up or integrated into society much in the same way that like the movies are, and you have some people who like the movies more. You have some people who like politics more. You got people who, follow a franchise. They're Marvel heads, right? Maybe they don't like all movies, or they don't, but they love the Marvel, right? And then same way with politics, maybe somebody doesn't necessarily follow every goings on both sides of the spectrum, but like they just really love whatever, like Republicans or something like that. And it seems lately there's been a little bit of shaking in that, and it's probably a good thing. I'm probably gonna say it's a good thing for people's maybe mental health. I don't think anything is really a good thing for creating a sort of stable, happy society where people's individual freedoms are respected, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Politics as pop culture has definitely not helped in that case, but whatever has helped, I don't know. If you know, you can tell me. Not that this is going to be the main topic of conversation for this episode, okay? That's not what we're here for. But we kind of have seen this gradient, this movement from like politics as pop culture into conspiracies as pop culture. And that's really, I don't know what to call it. Like on one hand, it's pretty funny. On the other hand, it's like kind of exciting. I think it was like kind of exciting for a second in like 2024, right? When there's this big tidal wave of, and conspiracy is not even the right word for it, of course. That word's sort of thrown around. I think it's the incorrect word, but I think you understand what I'm saying. So we've moved into this conspiracy theory as pop culture zone, and everybody has their own genre of it. Of course, there's those on the right, there's those on the left, there's those who don't respect the left-right paradigm. No matter who you are, you have a vivid and robust set of conspiracy theory ecosystem that is serving your genre, serving your niche, which is sort of a concept very dear to our hearts, because that, of course, was always our goal since 2012 was, let's talk about the ghosts, let's talk about the fringe, let's talk about the paranormal, but we're going to do it from a Christian worldview and for Christians, which it's not like it had never been done before. I mean, we wouldn't exist if it weren't for, the real forefathers of that, Dr. Future, of course, the Gilberts, of course, all the authors, all the people that we had on the show very, very early on. But it feels like conspiracy theory as a pop culture is not very sustainable. It doesn't seem. I don't know. It doesn't seem very sustainable. It seems like a bit of a rough ride. Seems like kind of shaking the ship apart a little bit here. And the question I've been asking for a couple of years now is, what's next? What's next? What becomes pop culture next? What weird psy-op, whoever benefits from controlling what pop culture is. I think there'll be a special place in the world for whoever figures out what is the next phase of pop culture. Because those who saw ahead of time that politics would become pop culture, around 2012, maybe a little earlier, but by 2012, it had sort of really taken hold. I think there's a special place in the world for those who saw conspiracy theory culture as becoming pop culture. Now, I'm not necessarily, when I say special place in the world, I don't mean that they are necessarily rewarded in some sort of outsized way, but they get to be, I don't know what it is. That's that. And I'm not, just to be clear, I don't know if we've ever been far enough ahead, specifically in being able in guessing what pop culture will be next. Of course, we know this. We don't need to say it. Everybody knows it, but just in case, just so it's said, we've been ahead of the curve on pretty much everything, except for the things that would sort of be mass adopted, at least not at the right time. So I think those are some new words to describe what I've been trying to talk about is sort of a messy week by week way for the past year. It's the goal, or at least the thing that interests me now, is can we foretell what is the next thing that pop culture will evolve into? And it's hard to guess, it's hard to tell after conspiracy theory, because it kind of doesn't get any what's the word? Not worse. Worse is not the it kind of can't get any wilder. I mean, unless maybe it's cults, maybe like in the same way that everybody like openly talks about the conspiracy theories they believe in, maybe just like it's the cool thing to openly start evangelizing for some new AI cult or something, or new age cult. Like everybody will have their own kind of cult that they like to talk about. I don't know. That's a guess. Or maybe the other way around. Maybe it's just going to become so pedestrian, so simple. Like pop culture will just go back to like, I don't know, what, the 1920s, where it's like pop culture is dominated by the vaudeville, somebody's favorite kind of vaudeville entertainer. I mean, there are some interesting reflections between the 1920s and the 2020s. Obviously, the Gilded Era, the high point of wealth inequality in America, followed, unfortunately, by the Great Depression and then World War II. Who knows? Somebody, let's see here. Oh, just heads up. Monica texted the text message alert system, says, "How is your foot? How are the babies?" She's referring to the baby emus. "I need an update. Thanks so much." The foot, goodness gracious, I can't believe how long my foot. For those who don't know, didn't hear, my foot got mysteriously majorly injured while I was running around outside with a baby emu, giving this baby emu his outside time. Never did quite follow through on maybe all of the professional medical things I should have done, but been in the boot, been taking it easy, and it's better. I can go. I'm starting to exercise the foot without the boot. I can walk to the kitchen. I can walk to the bathroom. I'm just doing a little bit every day. It feels very weak and strangely tingly in some places. I can tell the muscles are atrophied, and I can tell my tendons too are quite weak. So just taking it super easy. Thank you for asking. The baby emus are getting bigger, very big. The firstborn emu, who was born in February, is officially too big to be living in the house. The plan was that I would build a new outside pen for this baby emu to live in a long time ago. But of course, the injured foot has put a damper on that plan. But the emu is officially too tall. It can see over. I think the fence I have, or the little gate thing I have in the house, is like 3 feet, maybe 3 feet, maybe 3.5. I don't think 4. I think 3 feet. And the teenage emu is just like this all the time, up over the fence, just watching what's going on, taking a look at the cats. His horizons are expanding. He's starting to get. I take him out every day. He comes out with me when we feed the animals. We run around. He's very good. But he's got to go outside real soon. Real soon. But he needs a container. There's no containers out there. I'm a little worried about putting him immediately in with the big emus, because while I do take the teenage emu over, while I feed the adult emus, and they look at each other, interact with each other from either side of the fence, they get super riled up. Super riled up. And it's fun and it's kind of cute, and I think for the most part, they're excited to see one another. But when these emus get too riled up and they stop paying attention to fences and they start going full speed without really, they could very easily like accidentally escape, if not purposefully escape. So I'm a little nervous about putting them together right now. I just don't know what it'll be. My last option, without building a new thing, which I bought all the stuff. I have everything I need to do it. It's just, the foot makes it hard to jump around out there. I thought about putting the baby emu in with the goats. I've been introducing the goats and the emu. The emu is now comfortable with the goats. The goats not so comfortable with the emu. They've gotten into some chasing games, the emu and the goats. I'm sure they'll get used to each other, but the emu actually does show a lot of interest in living with the chickens in the chicken coop. He's always trying to get into the chicken coop. I think maybe it's because the chickens maybe look the closest to how he imagines himself. I don't know. The dude is always trying to get in there. So that's the deal with teenage emu. The baby emus who were born on Easter, they are also getting quite big for their age. There's a runt. Oh my gosh. Guys, I don't think I've documented. I need to document the difference between the runt emu and the biggest emu. Same age. The runt emu is half the size as his brothers and sisters. Super short neck, super short legs. I'm thinking of maybe keeping the runt, because as I'm raising the baby emus, about this size, that the teenager emu, maybe 2 to 3 feet tall. If the bird could stay that size, I could see a market for pygmy emus. And I think this little runt might be a gift from God, because if I can find someone else's runt, I can get another runt emu, and I start some emu husbandry programs, I think I can breed a species of pygmy emu. This might be my ticket. This might be my ticket to the big time, okay? If anybody asks, what's the easiest way to make $1 million? I'll tell them. It's start a brand new, subspecies of emu that are small and cute, because here's the thing. Who likes small and cute pets, exotic pets? Celebrities. Who's got all the money? Celebrities. Think of Paris Hilton carrying around her little toy dog in a purse. What if that was an emu? What if it was like a scary dinosaur bird? But it's cute because it's tiny, a teacup emu. It is not the path that I saw my life taking when I thought about it. When you were children, we imagine all the different directions our life could go. I also did not think, I could not imagine that I would be like a professional podcaster. mostly because podcasting didn't exist when I was a child. But considering we started doing what we're doing so early, I will not say that we are responsible for the way that podcasting has gone, but I will say we did participate in its early days. And so therefore, I can participate in the early days of teacup emu species meddling. And I'll do it all the right way, okay? Not going to get my own not going to get some CRISPR kits, for my garage, cuz you can this is not that expensive. You can get DNA tampering equipment in your garage and it's totally legal. In fact, I won't say I almost did this, but as I was looking into getting these baby emus DNA tested, turns out I can buy my own emu DNA testing equipment for about $2,000, which is, I'll say, not quite a steal and not important enough to the operation right now. I did find somebody who I think owns one of these things. I think this is an operation going out of somebody's garage who will DNA test the emus for me for $5, which is significantly cheaper than I was ever told. Will this person probably subsidize their income by stealing my emu's DNA and selling it to China? Probably. Can I risk letting my first pygmy emu's genetic code be stolen by the copyright intellectual property thieves in China? Probably not. Okay, I got to keep this operation tight. I don't even know why I'm talking about this, but there you go. Yeah, pygmy emus, couple years. That's the exit plan. All right. Monica says the new pop culture is pygmy emus in a purse. That's right. Many horses, many emus, smooth transition, says Gabby. Sue says a Timu emu. Geez, you guys are funny today, man. You guys are on point. I'm just going to let you guys do the show here. All right. Well, like I said, don't really know what to expect this episode. I don't have a nice hour-long monologue to go on unveiling, the spiritual hidden truths of the universe before we take callers. So I'm going to start taking callers now. I mean, that's the thing. Everybody loves the callers anyways. So let me see. My phone's blowing up. Let me make sure it's not an emergency. The show must go on. All right. Reminder. It is a call-in show. Everybody look at there. Look down in the description of this podcast, wherever you're watching it. There's a call-in link. Click the link or copy paste it. Put in your name. A couple questions there. You can do it on any device. Any device works. Okay. We got a couple callers hanging out in the back room. Number one. First caller is a caller that we have been hearing from regularly. We've got very interesting, deep conversations. If I knew everybody's sort of gate program MK Ultra trigger word, I would use it now to put you into a hypnotic state to receive your orders from the secret government programs, but I don't. So instead, we're going to let up Liquid Bacons onto the stage. What's going on, Liquid Bacon? How are you, buddy?
Hey, Basil, I'm doing good.
Thanks for calling in. What's the haps?
Yeah, is my sound good?
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay, good, awesome. Okay, how did you know I was going to talk about that story about getting a phone call and it being like weird, sort of?
That's what
stuff.
I'm saying, man. It's a sixth sense over here. I was in the gate program. I don't know what actual gifts that I had or was given, but here we are. And do you have what do you got for us today?
Well, I was I'm really grateful that with the Discord, a lot of people have jumped in, and I've learned a lot of stuff from other people who have been in Gate and unlocked some of my memories, and vice versa. And so it's been really really cool. So kudos to everybody who's
Good.
making the Discord completely awesome.
Yeah, awesome. I'm
Um,
glad to hear that. I'm really glad to hear that because we never know
yeah,
what, we don't know what makes anybody do anything. That is a total blind spot for us, but I'm glad that people are going in there. And in case somebody's hearing about it for the first time, they're doing a gate support group, a gate discussion group. They're doing all sorts of fun stuff. Go to canarycry.party and you'll see a button to join the Discord channel. That's how you do it.
yeah, and also whenever the episodes come on, I'm gonna, hopefully can be like a really awesome watch party in the Discord
Yeah.
chat for all your guys' shows and all that. So
Oh,
that's
that's
cool.
great. That's great.
Yeah, and it was funny before the show popped on. My wife just got back yesterday, and she's planning on jumping on the show and sharing her Gate story. We realized that she was in Gate about a year ago, and so she's planning on jumping on the show and sharing her story and different things with that. And so it's pretty
Cool.
funny, not funny.
Yeah.
Um, but it's hard for me as far as to figure out what to talk about because there's like three different stories, three different things in three different directions. And one of them, which I guess is the main one that I'm closest to being able to share, is the hardest one, and I don't even know how to tell it, because it involves my brother. So my brother, I'll have to explain what Class B gate is before I even jump into that. Class A, and this is like hypothetical names for the kind of things for the kids who were in gate.
Uh-huh.
Class A is gate proper. It's the one that the kids were smart and all that. They remember the pink drinks if they're lucky. They're going to class. They're on a definable course, whether they remember it or not. But the nature of it is the people that are in that qualify for gate, score high. The people have can see their aptitude and all that, and so they're allowed in gate proper, which is Class A, and because they're agreeable, they're followers, they're model student citizens kind of thing.
Mhm.
So the government or anybody, they'll be able to fall in line in whatever sort of organizations they'd be groomed for.
Right.
Class B is for the people who are qualified for gate, but they're not as agreeable. They might have a bit of oppositional defiant disorder.
Mm.
They're not going to be as get along with kind of thing.
Right.
But yet they still have these latent skills that the government by dang wants to utilize. So what they do is basically the kid is actually in gate. It's just the kid doesn't know it. And the kid could actually, if they were in gate, but then be told that they're kicked out of gate because they didn't comply or whatever in the world, right?
Hmm.
But then when they progress, the way they're treated at school like takes a drastic turn south, you know? They do good on tests, but they're always getting Fs, even though they did right.
Hmm.
They might get assigned, especially once they're past sixth grade, they might get assigned a speech therapist or a student aide that accompanies them while they're in school and put into the maybe special classes like in the you know um
So
kids
like,
that need a bit more
yeah, the like
educational help.
learn to read small group or the speech class or these other little sort of not extracurriculars, but just like some kids needed a little bit more attention.
Yeah, the ones that were on the shorter bus kind. So they'd be put in classes like that, even though they don't need to be in those classes, and they're told that they're not that they can't read, even though they can read. You know, they're basically to basically kill and gaslight their will, to to I don't know,
Yeah,
resist,
trying to put them
this.
in their place, disempower the malcontents.
Yeah, and depending on how they respond through all that stuff, because they're being monitored, um, there's been accounts of gate kids who are placed in there who know how to read, who are smart, read 2 books a day, but they're put in those classes and they're completely treated, in a sense, dumbed down, let's just say.
Right.
And there's been accounts that the teacher's aides that would be aiding that student, would go over and basically incite other kids to fight that kid, even in class, and that kid being beat up in class in front of the teacher, and the teacher does nothing.
Okay.
And so, yeah, and so there's like weird stories like that, but that's just all a part of class B conditioning. Because if you think of it occultically, if you little kid don't want to go the right hand path, then you can go the left hand path,
Right.
and we'll mold you a great little left hand path kid. And what stinks is either during, like, while the kid is in school, they'd be conditioned to do a lot of either dark stuff or just controllable underbelly stuff. Like,
Sure.
they might go and there'd be one kid who was in that class and be like that only kid's friend, but then that kid teaches the other kid how to steal cars, or break into buildings and stuff. But the thing is that kid who's teaching the gate kid is one of the trained other, operative kind of kids, even though, like, basically go and take that gate kid under their wing and teach them all the stuff so they can do like the left hand path of society stuff. And then also, once that kid gets good, because this is class B, showing those gate talents, and then when the gate kid gets good at that stuff, then he gets introduced into other, in a controlled opposition organizations, that he can go and rise to ranks in, because obviously all the listeners here know that, two wings of the same bird and everything. The
Right.
ones that really go to jail and really, don't get the slap on the wrist, are the ones that aren't in the protected class, whether it is
Yeah, like the Charlie Manson version is
stuff
a
like that.
an
Yeah.
example, right? He's working for the CIA, he's in LSD experiments, he's kinda doing all this weird stuff, and he keeps getting busted, but every time he gets
Yeah.
busted, it's somebody from the government walks in and say, "He's our guy, you gotta let him go," and they let him go, and he
Absolutely. Absolutely.
do more hijinks.
Yeah. Yeah. And so these are class B students. These examples, the one of, the kid getting beat up by like 5 other students while the teacher watches and the student aide is just standing there. That's a story from my brother. When I was growing up, I didn't really believe him. I didn't disbelieve him, but I didn't really believe him, because it's like, well, what else is to the story? That doesn't make sense.
Right.
But then in my research with Gate and everything, I'm hearing this stinking story from a bit of other sources. And so anyways, that happened with my brother, and my brother he'd always consider himself a black sheep. And it's really hard for me to talk to my brother because we've been so estranged, and it's a shame. And I told him this on, near the ender part of the story, that one of the biggest regrets in my life was that I wasn't around him when he was younger. Because he was probably subjected to so much far worse stuff than I had, whether the gate program or not, just the nature of how my family was and everything. So anyways, he grows up, and he also, which also gets me into some of it, and I'm trying to make my way through the telepathy tapes, because I guess that's a main thing that in the gato sphere, people end up listening to those.
Right.
And so I'm trying to speed research through all that, and then look at all that stuff through a Christian lens. And the interesting thing too, not to sidetrack myself, I'm grateful that Sir Psalms 40 mentioned this guy called Seth Kicklighter, and he wrote a book, and he did different interviews, and all the stuff on the supernatural stuff that I've experienced through Gate, or just different instances through my life because of how crazy it had been and stuff. His conclusions were a lot of the stuff that like I've suspected this entire time, but he articulated it really, really well. And with these experiences, it absolutely comes down to like spiritual deception, even to the extent of, multiverse stuff and time travel and a bunch of other things. And so, I mean, that's what I think on the bottom line with it. I can talk more about that wherever, but with my brother, I guess we'll fast forward with my brother. He's super estranged, and one of the biggest reasons why is because I went to a cult for about 15 years. It was like a Christian church kind of cult. I think it was like number 4 on the top Christian cults or whatever.
Yeah.
And it really messed my life up really bad, but it also took me away from my family. And my brother was, faced the world on his own, and he got opportunized on. And so now my brother is the byproduct of everything he's been through. And, he ran around with satanic groups and a bunch of other stuff. And I'm trying to figure out what story to share about him, because the one that involves multiverse and time travel that he believes, I don't believe. I think it's a demonic deception, but we both had a shared dream, because he gave me some concoction. And I was talking with we the Samaritans on Discord, and I think it was like mascara or something. Mascara, I don't know. It's basically a mushroom that witches use to where they can like have a shared dream and stuff.
Yeah, Amanita muscaria or something.
Yeah, and
classic,
and so
like red mushroom with the white dots on it.
yeah,
it's actually not very common, but yes, it's a totally. I had someone describe. I don't want to interrupt, but
totally go for it.
Because mushrooms, most people think of mushrooms, they'll think of psilocybin.
Yeah.
Amanita muscaria is a little different. I've never taken it, but I've talked to somebody who was offering it to me. And I was like, oh, well, is that like, is it like psilocybin? He goes, no. I go, okay, well, what is it even like? He's like, well, when I take mushrooms, I feel like, I'm seeing reality, and I can see through the veil, and I'm experiencing sort of interdimensionality, and all this stuff goes off about taking psilocybin. And he goes,
Yeah.
taking Amanita muscaria, and I don't know if this is true or not. This is just how he described it to me. Taking Amanita muscaria is like, I'll take it, and then I'll wait a second, and I'll blink, and I'll be in France. I was like, what do you mean? He's just like, oh, I'm just like somewhere else, just something else. Like, it's not like but I'm just in France, and I'm sitting at a French cafe, and I'm doing that for a while. I go, oh, okay, that sounds really fun. I mean, I guess it sounds like a cheaper way to go to France or something, but
Yeah.
What was your experience?
Okay, well, dang. I'm trying to figure out how to make it PG. So I guess I have to start from here. I go over to my brother lives with my mom and dad and all that. And so I go over to mom and dad's house, my brother's. And me and my brother are hanging out, and it's really hard to talk to my brother because I don't know what the heck is going on in his head. As far as I know, he has bones to pick with me, but I don't know what's legitimate. I don't know what is like real or perceived. um he has all the characteristics of schizophrenia and all that stuff, and but it's common with gay kids. um but I 100% believe that it's entities that are messing with him. And so I don't know what they've said to him and all that stuff. So I go over and I'm talking with him, and I'm playing cards with him, and I'm saying, I'm sorry, bro, for everything that, I may have done in life, that could have hurt you and everything like that. And so I'm trying to bury the hatchet and all that stuff.
Right.
And the entire time he acts kind of close and interactive, stuff's cool. But then the other half, it seems like he's walking me through certain things where it seems like he's trying to, either have me inadvertently, walk through some kind of ritual or something. And I'm not playing with or anything. It's like, as in, if I needed to stand over here for him to do something, he tried to get me to stand in a certain place, or, things like that.
Yeah, it feels like he's kind of, like he has some very specific things he wants you to do or say or be or go or whatever. And you're kind of doing this in your I don't know, hanging out with him.
Yeah. And so there's some other things which, I don't know how I'm going to get to all that, but in either case, we're playing cards and we're having a couple of drinks, and when I drink, I'm not out to, get drunk or anything like that.
Uh-huh.
But I'm having enough that I think I can handle. I'm probably 220 some odd pounds, so I'm, I have a pretty good limit and such.
Mhm.
But what I failed to realize, like, you know, a couple drinks in, is that he's pouring me drinks from one bottle and then he's pouring drinks for himself from another.
Uh-oh.
And why I'm pretty sure it was that Mascaria thing is because before all this, at some point there was a bottle on across the room that was, just leaning on the wall or something. And I asked him what was that, and he said, "Well, it's a special drink and all that. It's and I think he said something about sharing dreams and stuff. And it's like you might end up having some of that or something like that."
Huh.
And I didn't know what he meant by that. My brother says a lot of weird things though,
Yeah,
so
right.
so even when I saw that he's pouring a different bottle, like I didn't two and two that's the same bottle. And so anyway, so I had a couple drinks, and then I noticed the bottle. I may have finished, but I didn't fully realize that, hey, wait a minute, that's weird as far as in the way of all that. And so I may have finished my drink or something, and I'm talking to him, but I guess he can tell that I'm ripe for whatever he was trying to do. And so then he goes over on the other side of the table and he picks me up from my chair. And I was like talking still. And I think, like, I'm always making jokes. It's my what comic relief and such. So I don't think I'm drunk, but when he picked me up, I'm like, whoa, he's picking me up. But then some reason there was like some knee jerk reaction to make a joke as if like me acting drunk, and I whipped my head backwards like to act like I passed out. and I was like there a couple seconds, but then I passed out. And so that was unfortunate, but then he goes over and he ends up taking my clothes off, but I have my underwear on. But then he puts me in it doesn't get bad, but he puts me in a bathtub with water and stuff.
Are you aware of
And
this, or is you just put this together after you woke up or something?
yeah, like he was still kind of carrying me, unless he like had me carried like.
As this is happening, as he's doing this, are you like aware that it's happening, or did you learn this later that this how it worked?
Well, okay, so like I'm in his arms when I passed out, and then I was like, I don't think I was fully passed out, because I realized him like stripping me down, but he put me in the bathtub with water, and then I came to. So it was like not even like a couple minutes or something, because when I hit the water, I woke up and I started laughing.
Okay.
And it was, it was lame because I didn't want to be there. But the whole thing is that I think he was, because he does this, he falls asleep in the bathtub, and with certain things he's told me, if you think of it like a sleep or a sensory deprivation tank, but
Right.
like, ghetto style or something. And so what I think he was trying to do was put me in the bathtub. I'd be passed out so that he can go to sleep and then have that shared dream experience. But I wasn't supposed to wake up once I touched the water, because I was supposed to pass out and be there, so that he can do whatever in the world with me in the astral realm.
Okay.
And so anyways, but I woke up, and then he kind of looked frustrated, and then he went to the other room. I got out, got a towel, and, was awake for a couple more hours, but then I went over to my room and I fell asleep. Then when I fell asleep, I was in a dream, and I was talking with my brother, and it seemed a bit hostile, but I was trying to talk to him, but then he went over and he didn't choke me as far as like cutting off the airflow, but he, had his hands around my neck as to cut the blood flow off from my head.
In the dream.
And so, yes, in the dream. And so I end up passing out in the dream. And then some time passes, and then I end up like waking up, like my eyes kind of open, and I'm standing off in the distance facing him, and he's sitting down, and he has a big old cauldron of boiling water. And then he has me, my body, like next to him. And I mean, not to get graphic, but he's putting me in there, part by part.
Okay.
Let's just say. Yeah. And then so then I'm watching that, and then stuff goes black, and then I end up waking up. It's interesting because there's this one guy. Oh,
did the dream feel like a lucid dream? Did it feel like it was
lucid?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
it was totally lucid.
Okay.
Um,
Did you know
and
that you were dreaming, or was it just like felt like you were in reality?
it felt pretty real.
Yeah.
But
You went to France.
yeah, I totally went to France, but then it all took place in France under, the Illuminati headquarters.
Right. Yeah.
But then I woke up like a lot of other dream experiences I had. It did feel lucid, and all that stuff. I bring up this point, and I haven't fully vetted this guy, but I've seen him around and I've heard his story. And his name's John Ramirez. He shared a story that he, in the same kind of ritual that I saw my brother doing, that he was going to go and kill a guy, and if he put the body parts into the cauldron, then it would give a demon the arms and legs to walk this world or something.
Crazy.
But anyway, so I go and I wake up, and then I go and I see my brother. We interact. My brother is the same-ish, because he's my brother. Then I go home. And so anyways, so let's just say either the next visit I go back over, see mom and dad and my brother, or the time after that, some time has passed. My brother goes over and he says, I killed you in a different timeline before and all that. And yeah, so earlier I brought up the telepathy tapes because my brother seems like one of those kids. And there's only been 2 people in my life who I suspected could read my thoughts and stuff. And it was my brother and it was my ex. And so my brother, as far as if anybody's listened to it, my brother wasn't able to speak until he was 10. And he was diagnosed with like autism, I think he even mentioned the hill as well. I mentioned, the last time he came over here, I'm jumping around a little bit, but I'm trying to sum up stuff. Last time he came over to my house a couple months ago, I was talking with him and he seemed a bit worse as far as all over the place. I mentioned, do you know what the Black Awakening is? And
Yeah.
he's not a Canarian, so he didn't learn about the Black Awakening, from
Right.
any of us. He's like he was very reluctant to say what it was. And then I asked him again, and he's like, he said, either like it's when a lot of bad things happen. And then he said something else that was like more specific that it wouldn't be confused that he didn't know what the Black Awakening is. He basically described it a little, but just being cryptic. And then I went and asked him more, and then he's like, you're poking at a demon right now, And then so I was trying to figure out how to ask either, something else or, something to where I knew that he'd be receptive to answer. But yeah, so like the telepathy tapes with the kids that are inaudible, autistic and can astrally project, do all this, supernatural stuff. My brother seems to be it. And it's a shame because he believes that whenever he goes to whatever, the only kind of time travel I believe is like, the kind that you do and you might get stuck somewhere, but I don't believe the kind that it's purported that they do. I think it's grand scale. Deception,
Right.
Because even Project Looking Glass, it was all based off of a supercomputer or quantum computer, whatever, and it's doing algorithms on purported outcomes for timelines and stuff. It's not peering into it; it's just using the algorithms to lie through statistics or something.
Right.
Yeah.
That is so
but a lot of yeah. But a lot of people will believe as if it did. And I think it's like the timelines start to merge when it gets like near or past 2030 or something. And so it's either like, and it's like either one or the other timeline, or it's just one. I can't remember how it goes, but if it's like, one or the other, then you have to pick this one or everything's going to go to crap, and so it totally ties into the new age thing where, everybody has to vibrate at the certain frequency, or, we're going to get the crap timeline. And if those Christians don't, know how to vibrate better, then they have to go, and, and so it's just like, even though, oh no, FOIA, we twisted the government's arm, that they have to go and tell us, these declassified things. Like, I still think that grand scale, the Great Deception is rolled up into all that as well, you know? Um,
Yeah, I mean, you can see again, coming from the perspective that we have, and the way we know everything is going to end, the way we know, we know the things to look out for, things like this. It's interesting and it's sort of predictable. Of course, this would be the case. But there's I wouldn't even say it a sort of opposing narrative, because to oppose the narrative is like the opposite is different. Like if it's, the biblical prophecy in the book of Revelation, the if they oppose that by saying, no, it's the opposite, meaning nothing's going to happen. None of that is
yeah,
anything. But
yeah,
playing with it, or the way the enemy often works is not to directly oppose what the Bible says, but to just kind of provide either a mirror image of it, or uh, a counterfeit of it, or something like that. And it's pretty common to see the narrative floating around, yeah, specifically with the sort of chronovisor projects, or the other one that you mentioned,
Looking
the
Glass.
Looking Glass, right? That there's all these archived videos, all these whistleblowers from the government, all these people coming together to say, they looked to the year 2032, and they know that that's when they can lose control, and the government's very afraid of what they saw in the year 2032, and so therefore, and then you can kind of spiral off really into any new age telling of that you want. Like you
Yeah,
laid out pretty well what that at least one of the new age or occult versions of that is. Well, we have to do this. It's just this like slight fork in the road from what biblical prophecy foretells, and of course, it's always in the spirit of self-aggrandizement, becoming gods, ascending, this kind of stuff.
yep,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's the craziest part too with that point, because the thing with Gate, I think that's exactly a lot of the point of where because all those new age things, and I think even David Wilcock was saying it like in the year 2012, like we're gonna have superpowers and all this stuff and
Mhm.
everything. Like I think the entire Gate program is to be, one. I mean, of course it's more on the exterior than like Project Monarch or something like that.
Right.
But to create these, you know, Ubermensch, X-Men kind of thing, so that by whatever year, when they really mean it this time, you know, the world will have a lot of those, X-Men or Supermen, what have you, with whatever powers, But the thing is that where is this power coming from? Revelation says that it'll deceive them through pharmakia and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Which, I
and
mean, it just lines up with everything we're seeing, everything we're following, and all the broad meta sort of narratives going on in the world. A lot of it,
yeah,
is involved with our Burning Man research, the pharmakia, the psychedelics in church, the psychedelics therapy, mixed in with the technocracy, mixed in with the this, the that, the transhumanism. There are all these sort of disparate uh non-connected. I mean, we know they're connected, but these
yeah,
separate sort of storylines about how humans can direct their own future. And then, yes, this sort of Black Awakening thing, or at least the concepts behind it, are very much the outcome of all these simultaneous narratives kind of coming in to create one reality. Because that's one thing that we kind of miss a lot, even down to the basic, if you're trying to follow quote unquote the narrative in the media, you're right. There's several different narratives, and people will often get stuck in the argument about which narrative is true or which narrative is more important. And it feels like that's kind of what they want. Like, because if you're stuck trying to differentiate between what's the most important narrative, uh, then you don't stop to think, well, these are all just pieces of kind of a grander narrative. The worldview, or what they call consensus reality, is not a narrative. It's the collection, the unifying collection of all the narratives that create the water that the world is swimming in. And work like Russ Distar and others, this idea about how all these things come together for a fairly foretelled outcome, is sort of a practice in zooming out and looking at them all sort of cohesively.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think I've had quite a few conversations with people in the Discord about exactly what you were saying. Um, and dang it, there was this one thing, and it went into the intels of the multiverse and time travel and all that stuff. Uh, and I forgot what the link with all of that is. I'm trying to look through my notes really quick because there was a few
Well, I was
things,
gonna
but
say,
yeah,
I'll give another pitch to the Discord, because we do have a few more callers we want to get to. I mean, it's always a blast
absolutely.
to chat, and we could do this for forever, but we got to give people a reason: A, to go join the Discord, and B, tune in next week for the next installment of the Adventures of Liquid Bacons. So everybody, you go to canarycry.party on your web browser. You'll see a button. You might have to scroll down a bit. I thought I changed it. I thought I put it up at the top, but apparently it didn't stick, maybe. But go to canarycry.party, and you'll see a button there somewhere that says Discord chat. And go join that Discord chat, because apparently you guys are popping off over there, and you'll love to see it, man.
Heck yeah.
Oh, and the
Thanks,
other one is,
Basil. Appreciate it.
number one, go to canarycry.party, jump in the Discord and join the conversation. Number two is come back next week, because it's never ending. I love hearing I did put it up top. Okay. Yeah. Discord chat button is up near the top at canarycry.party. All right, Liquid Bacons. Thank you so much, buddy. I can't wait to talk to you again, man.
Yeah, thank you too. Oh, one last thing. Producers, can you pray for my brother? That Jesus makes himself undeniably real, and it's the real one, because he has a false version of him and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Amen.
thanks so much.
You bet, buddy. Amen. I'll talk to you later.
Cool. God bless you. Take care.
Bye. All in the producers.
Producers, assemble!
Yeah, really. Producers around the world here. We're going to say, put it in your notebook, say a little prayer right now, praying for Liquid Bacons' brother. And that's got to be super freaky. That's always super scary when we're close to someone who is in so deep with something like that. But I am confident. I'm confident that God is working behind the scenes, especially with Liquid Bacons' brother. Part of it is because I've spoken over the years with interviews on Canary Cry Radio, with interviews on TJT, the Joyspiracy Theory. I've just talked to so many people and heard their testimonies about how deep they were in the darkness, how deep they were into the New Age and into the demonic and into the occult. And her testimony over testimony over testimony about the miraculous ways that Christ revealed himself. And it's a journey, and it's a bummer, because we just hate to see it. And every second that somebody spends in that darkness is agonizing for so many reasons. But of course, God is working outside of time, and wherever along our perception of time Liquid Bacons' brother is met face to face with the true Christ, Christ is on it. He's on it. And outside of time, he's on it right now. And of course, we'll just pray that the testimony that comes out of Liquid Bacon's and Liquid Bacon's brother, when he's radically touched and transformed, that all this time he spent in the darkness, just every second of it is multiplied 1,000 times over when his testimony tells a story about, even as dark as he was, even as deep as he was, every second of it is redeemed 1,000 times over with his testimony to the glory of God whenever that happens. So, amen. Liquid Bacons, can't wait to talk to you next week. We got another caller. It is Sir Psalm 40. You heard it here. Sir Psalm 40, the guy heading up the Discord channel, doing a lot of good work. Sir Psalm 40, how you doing, buddy? You're on the air.
Hey Basil, how you hear me?
I hear you great. Hear you good, buddy. What's up?
Cool. So we started the show talking about culture, the conspiracy theory culture.
Mhm.
I'm in the little elite Gideon group of inspiring podcasters, and I was really what I'm looking for is something more than the Sunday service is pretty much it. And what that ended up turning into is culture. And I don't really think that there was a conspiracy theory culture, because there's always been these, you use the word later on in your rant, psy-op is exactly what a conspiracy theory is. It's, a psychological operation that, it's the uncanny valley. Something's not right, but there's no clues, or, no obvious clues as to what it is. So trying to figure it out, it goes against the grain. And so like if time or history was like a tapestry, we're only seeing like 100 years of that. We're zoomed in on like 100 years of that, if we're lucky. And we may see a bunch of different patterns and colors over that 100 years. But if you zoom out over 1,000 years, it's a whole different picture. But it is also a like repeating picture, because like Solomon was like 900 BC, something like that, 1,000 BC, and at that time there was nothing new under the sun. So, you know, as far as what to look for that comes next, it is going to be the same ice cream, just a different flavor, just as it's always been. And for me personally, I think that it's finally time for I can't really put like a title on it. Like the first word I want to use is alien. It's time for the alien thing to come to a climax, but alien may not even be like the right word to use. Whatever the
You're talking the Great
advanced,
Deception, whatever the Great Deception is coming up. Is that what you mean?
well, that's another word that could be used, but I don't think that it's I don't think that like we're going to see the Antichrist in our time. I don't think that that's involved in it, which I'm sure a lot of people are turning red just from that. But
You mean the
yeah, certainly.
Antichrist in sort of the Left Behind series kind of sense, that a single Antichrist figure, goes through the whole Left Behind process, which, of
Right.
course, we've talked about the precise theology of the Antichrist, which doesn't necessarily match up with what people expect. I mean, the whole Antichrist thing, I imagine you might be correct that we may never see what people describe as the Antichrist, in the sense that, especially a lot of newer Christians who are getting the sort of Antichrist narrative presented to them. Yeah, I agree. We probably won't see that exact sort of what's the word I'm trying. It's not just narrative, but I think I hear what you're saying. So keep going. Give me more.
Well, you know, for all intents and purposes, Daniel saw the Antichrist with Nebuchadnezzar,
Right.
and like,
Exactly.
was it Joshua with, or no, maybe it was Moses with that Pharaoh? There have been many Antichrists, and there
Mhm.
will be. And like I said, that tapestry of time that keeps repeating its pattern over and over again, it's going to keep going on until, as far as I can tell, the fullness of the Gentiles is complete. That's really the only answer I can come up with for that. And then, once that happens, that's when judgment and, the elector, all that good stuff, that's when judgment happens. And,
Mm.
whether that has happened yet or not is another rabbit hole. But the culture thing, I definitely think that, like, even culture, it moves with history, like the same way. They're all kind of the same. I feel like it's a repetition of things. And you were also talking about how you guys were you were like one of the first people to get involved even in the podcasting genre. Like, I didn't start listening to any podcasts at all unless if it wasn't for Gon's. Canary Cry Radio is the reason I even knew what a podcast was.
Right.
And there were like internet radio things that were a little bit different, but it's like, I guess there wasn't really an app for that, so they just had
Yeah.
to put their voice on a website type of thing, so it was a little bit different. But do you know actually what the origin of, like, I know everybody says there's a different one, but me personally, I believe the origin of the podcast originated from Tom Green. Do you know this story?
Um. I mean, I know he was early in the online video thing. He did his show from his basement or something long, long ago. If we're getting into the definition of podcasts, I'm a little bit more on the Adam Curry side, where a podcast is an audio file delivered through an RSS feed, sort of the technical
Fair.
definition.
Yeah.
I know everybody today, will just do a YouTube show and call it a podcast. I kind of disagree with that, but yeah, I do know he's pretty famously credited for being the first guy to do like a regular. I don't know how often he did it. He did it multiple times a week, I think. Back when like Hulu didn't even exist, like online video platforms didn't even really exist. YouTube definitely didn't exist, I think, by when he was doing his show. Is that kind of am I on the
Right. He
borders of what
started
you're talking about?
he started with like public broadcasting television,
Right.
and then that's kind of how he became famous, but he like didn't want to be famous. That's why he
Yeah.
wanted the independent public broadcasting route in the first place.
Right.
And then so then after he became famous and went back downhill again, it was still only like 1999 or something, 2000. And
Mhm.
he got into the internet radio thing.
Right.
And I think, I don't know if he was doing video or what, but I know he was doing the straight up internet radio, and he had Joe Rogan on. And that is, Joe Rogan was, he had some weird thing going on with whatever show he was on. So he was in the middle of a career change. And
Yeah.
then that's where I guess Joe Rogan came from.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Rogan's kind of a similar thing too. Again, it's just kind of like podcast nerd problems I have with the history of it. Because yeah, Joe Rogan also started as a way after Green. It started doing video where he'd sit on a couch with his buddies and they would just kind of like shoot the breeze for a couple hours and upload that. Yeah, online broadcasting in general, it was just the Wild West. I mean, I remember uh, I actually had the privilege. I mean, talk about kind of weird, weird childhoods. It may or may not be connected to being in the GATE program, but I was pretty involved with the local broadcasting station in my little town that I worked at. Um, and it was it was such like a grunge scene, right? Because like nobody really watches public broadcasting. I know in New York City public broadcasting had some pretty famous guys, but for your basic American town, public broadcasting was like uh, it was just nothing. It was, you could the local pet store would make a video about an adoption event and like put it up and stuff. But looking back, even in my own interest in doing what's going on now, it came from public broadcasting. Just this like this weird rock, not very professional, low quality ability for people to just do it, right? Just do the thing, just make a thing and put it up there.
I have two quick thoughts, and then I'm gonna bolt.
Okay.
Earlier you guys were kind of talking about looking glass, or like how these algorithms can only look so far in the future, and even with that, there's many different probabilities or possibilities, whatever. The fact that they could only look so far, it kind of reminded me of the Mayan calendar.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's a
then,
good point.
yeah, right. And then also, I also thought of a way that I personally don't believe in physical time travel. You probably
Mhm.
could look like within, God's created order, like, maybe you could look back or forward. I don't know. I definitely don't believe anyone can physically go back unless God himself is doing any of this. Obviously, he's the only one that can be outside of it. But
Right.
to go forward in time, I think you could do it with some kind of like hyperbaric sleep or like cryogenic stuff to the traveler. He would be traveling in the future.
Yeah, well, it's a reflection of the what do they call it? The long sleep. I mean, in early ancient sort of Hebrew understanding of what death was, you would die or you would what they say go to sleep. And in sort of our modern Christianity, in sort of recent Christianity, we are many of us are under the impression that when you die, you immediately go to heaven or you immediately go to wherever your eternal, life is going to be spent. Where in the early sort of Judaic understanding is when your body dies, you just fall asleep and there's nothing. It's just non-existence until judgment day or until the end of history when you wake up. And to the person who's dead, it would feel instantaneous because they don't have any consciousness in between. Um, and yeah, talking about physical time travel in the future, some sort of either cryogenic sleep, or even if you're able to get a person up to the speed of light or something, time dilation or something like that. What it interests me, yeah, the conversation about physical time travel, because of course physical time travel is how it's portrayed in movies and stuff, and mostly because we have a primarily material understanding of the world. The question I keep asking, even out loud on this show, is there much of a differentiation between the spiritual and the material at all? Uh, is the term physical time travel even relevant when so much of the real believers in time travel these days? I mean, you talk about the CIA documents and time travel and all this. Most of them, the word they use is your consciousness does the time travel, not your
Here,
physical body.
let me Let me give you another quick analogy real quick. You remember the flat world analogy, right? 2D versus 3D.
Right.
You remember this analogy? Like
Yeah.
if a 3D object passes through a 2D plane, it would look like say it was a finger. It
Yeah.
would begin as a point and it would get wider until, the finger gets fatter. And so your
Yeah.
hand passes through it and it gets even a different shape. So the 2D world is seeing all these crazy different transforming shapes in one spot, like a seraphim or something.
Yeah.
Well, let's say that one 3D hand has, 5 fingers or 10 fingers with 2 hands.
Yeah.
And now they can penetrate 10 or 2 or 6 different spots on this 2-dimensional plane. So, a creature that's of a higher dimension than us, and if time is somehow attached to space, then, it's the same way as like a helicopter hovering over a parade. Like if the parade is like the passing time, we're sitting in one spot watching it pass by. But of a
Right.
higher dimension, you could stick your finger in 2 different spots at one time.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is the logic is there, and it's really only hindered by, our idea that physical, I guess, versions of all these phenomena are the primary ones. And, if you're in the CIA or the government, you talk about consciousness and where consciousness is, where it goes, where it comes from. But if you're a believer, it's built right in, baby, in the spirit. I don't know if I was here or I was there. I was taken in the spirit, because, our spirit and our body are two of the things that make up the same person, and that's us, as is reflected by God's 3 different characteristics, 3 different sort of forms, but maintaining a singular persona. You're trippy, man.
Yeah, one last random thing to leave you with. I know that you have a whole bunch of baby emus running around now. There's a fella named Top Lobster that
Yeah.
is actually looking. He moves, and I understand he's on the other side of the country, and I don't know how that would possibly work, but he's
Wait.
someone that you're familiar with that is
Yeah, Top
into
Lobster
emu
from
farming.
Nephilim Death Squad is looking into emus?
Yeah,
No way.
yeah, yeah,
How did
yeah,
I
yeah.
Is he posting about it? Is he just talking about this? Where is he?
He
I'll reach out and
he
send him a
said on one of
message.
his yeah, but
I'll reach
I'm
out and I'll
sorry, but
tell
I
him
do
what.
have to.
Yeah, no, get out of
Yeah, I
here.
do have a heart out.
Scoot.
Yeah,
Get out
but
of here,
God
you.
bless, man. I'll see you next week.
God bless. Take it easy, buddy. That's so funny. Top Lobster from the Nephilim Death Squad is talking about becoming an emu farmer. I'm going to send him a message. I'm going to send him a message right now. Of course, been on the show. We've been lazy and bad by not getting those guys on the show. I was talking about getting them both on the show. Whoa, trippy. Okay. Well, do I have the weird bird for you, Top Lobster? All right, next on the list, we've got Liberty Before Authority. He's been entertaining me by having his video running in the green room this whole time. I've been watching all of his activities and all of his goats. Here we go. Liberty Before Authority. How are you, buddy? You're on the air. And so are your goats.
Peace and blessings, brother. Peace and blessings. Dude, life is amazing, man.
I can see that.
I wanna rapid fire off some stuff, like an
Sure.
FRT, and just like give you some stuff and just try and respect your time and everybody else. But just
Party
shout out
on.
some of the things that have been, weighing on me lately. And life is amazing, dude. Just had my 4th child.
Oh my
She was
God.
my second catch. Caught her in the living room.
Cute.
And
Oh, wow. Doing the home birth.
let me grab this cute little thing. I'm not, I'll give you something cute to look at. You don't have to look at my ugly face. Here you go, brother.
Baby goat.
So,
Baby goat.
so yeah, there's a lot. I'm just gonna. All right. So while I give you all this stuff that maybe maybe you don't want to hear, maybe someone doesn't want to hear it. I'm going to show you cute animals the whole time to kind of counterbalance that.
Brilliant idea.
All right, so start with baby goats. We'll go to big goats. I have been ramping up. It's been weighing on me to be able to answer for all the people in my family and anyone who would be coming to my place if there was a real struggle, if there was an attack on infrastructure, if something, very substantial happened. Most people don't even contemplate the unthinkable. And I encourage everybody to take a little time and be diligent, like Daniel, we've spoken of earlier, and be able to put back food for you and yours, and be able to do good things in hard times, because weak men are making hard times. That's happening right now. So, there's a lot of things when you're saying doing this stuff. Right, here's an example right in between. Let's start collecting water, guys. If you have anything, if you have people, if you have animals to answer for, you need to be putting back water, whether it's a cistern. This is the hay shack, and this is how we keep our hay off the ground so the animals don't pee and poop on it. It's got a big overhang. And this is, just a way for us to keep the milk goats going, and we store back hay. But anyways, ADD. The real important stuff right now. Hey, sweetie. It's okay. So the real, important things right now. I'd love to just talk about, your jujitsu training, all that stuff. But the reality is, we need to be focusing on food and water. And the thing that nobody wants to hear is, I'm sorry, guys, you're not prepared enough. You're not taking it serious enough. You're not prepared enough. We need to be diligent. How foolish would it be to sit back and just watch everything come to a potential collapse, and you're not preparing for you and yours, your family, even if you don't, your community. We need to be diligent and preparing. And I love the conspiracy stuff. I love the gate stuff. I love all of that. But that has all gone to the back burner because there's more important things right now. So these are the bucks. This is the buck pen and the Pyrenees. And they all have to serve a purpose out here. Where's my cool puppies? They're so good. So I love going down the rabbit holes with the conspiracies and I still nerd out from time to time, but lately it's just been preparing and being diligent and or trying to, and getting fit, spiritually fit. I'm assuming everybody here, I'm coming at this with the angle of, I'm assuming you're already spiritually fit. You have a relationship with the Most High. Good, check. Now let's think about the physical. Are you physically fit? Are you treating your body well? Are we doing the right things, doing the stuff that we know is right? And hopefully it's more and more becoming a yes.
Yeah.
And hopefully more and more. I finally got a good watering system for the chickens where I don't have to come out here and give them water all the time. I can fill up this 50-gallon pickle barrel and they'll have water from that. Save yourself some time because it adds up. My sad fruit trees, I transplanted them wrong time of year. Guineas, because the government's releasing more and more ticks every year, and we need to fight back the ways we can. So having guineas is awesome because my kids are all feral and they play in the woods and they play everywhere with, just pants on, a diaper if I'm lucky. And that being said, we gotta fight the ticks. So, all right, so I've been cleaning up cedar logs, doing the kids' tree house, and building more water collection.
Ooh, that's a nice excavator. You got a great excavator back there. I've been dreaming about an excavator.
It's fantastic, brother. If if you can really justify it, I can help so many people with that. When we had that massive storm, I'm in Western North Carolina. When we had that storm, the freak storm that sat still for 3 days, I don't want to go on a tangent because there's a lot there. I gotta stay focused.
Stay focused.
But we were able to help a lot of people.
Yeah.
Just by having this type of stuff. Kids' tree house is coming together. I just put a post in while I was waiting on the back. Those are 14 and 16 feet. And it also serves, I like to function stack. I like to have multiple purposes for anything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's also an LPOP, lookout position, observation position.
Great.
And yeah, function stacking, brother. Try and use your time the best you can. We all get 24 hours a day, you know, but are you fit? You know, are we doing the stuff? I started a push-up group like a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago now. And I have a group text, and I made everybody agree, 300 push-ups once a week, send it in the text when you get it done. And dude, it's been amazing. One of my friend's boys did 1,500 in a week just to try and compete with me. Because I say 300, but that's bare minimum. So since then I've done 60,000 push-ups. It's not tooting my horn. I'm just saying, like, you can have results if you really give a shit, give a crap.
Yeah,
Excuse
bro.
me. So yeah, that's just a little machine gun rapid fire. I want to include you in this. I don't want to just rant and preach. So we could, bro. I got the bug out bags packed, not bug out, the get home bags packed and stacked with survival things that I can actually use rather than just a bunch of junk and prepper junk. So preppers like to collect a bunch of junk, but don't ever
Yeah.
play with their tools. They got a bunch of gadgets, and they don't go out in the woods and do anything. All right. I'll meet people where they are. Maybe you live in a city, whatever. You have to be considering where you're going to get your water from. Where are we getting our water from? Because the reality is more people will die of dysentery than people would believe just from not having clean water. And the government water is terrible. It's recycled poop with fluoride and also atrazine, which make the frogs gay and stuff. But that being said, yeah, consider where your water is. Have some batteries. Have a headlamp. Does it have red mode? Because if it's just some big bright white light, maybe you don't want other people to see you, but you still want to be able to see what you're doing. You need a red light.
Right.
And they built some decent ones. I recommend a dual fuel, one that has a rechargeable battery. Plus, you can also do 3 AAAs if you want. There's dual fuel batteries, dual fuel streamlights and stuff. They're great. Just being able to have one type of flashlight that runs off of 3 batteries is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, just
amen.
like, go ahead, buddy.
I was just gonna say amen, man. I mean, it fits in. I love to see it. I mean, it's incredible. I feel like every time we talk, your empire of animals keeps growing over there. But the truth is, yeah, we've been feeling it and talking about it for a couple of years now. That it's like, okay, we've done it. We've done the talking. We've done the learning. We track the everything. And when it really comes down to it, when it's all said and done, what do we do now? Well, the function is due there.
I love that. I love that. I love that question. I got you, brother. The meat and potatoes of it. I love what you just said there. That's going to help me, say what matters most. How many people are when they go, oh, I'm coming to your place, the shit goes down. Make sure you have that hard talk with them.
Yeah,
that's not happening unless, well, I mean, set your boundaries, whatever they are. For us, I've had hard talks with family and friends that, hey, I will be that for you. You can come here. I'll even make sure I have enough clean water for you, and I'll do security. I've got those things, but you have to show me that you care enough by putting some food here. Freeze-dried food in buckets. Otherwise, you're taking from my children.
Right. Yeah.
Right? You're taking food from my children, and that's not right. And if you had all this time and you've had me telling you for years, hey, prepare, shit, stuff's happening. Things are not looking good at all.
Right.
Average life of an empire versus where we are right now is like exactly 250 years. And none of this should be fear. This should all just be out of diligent preparedness to be able to preserve life and to be able to do great things and help people when everybody else doesn't even know where they're getting their water from.
Yeah. Amen, man. Amen. But you're an inspiration, man, not just you have and say, but also the inner spirit, the inner strength, the sort of confidence and what's the word? The certainty to move in one direction. I think that's where a lot of people get caught up. A lot of people get kind of wishy-washy. They like the idea of getting ready, like the idea they're they're pretty convinced that things are going in one direction. But sometimes I even have to ask myself, like, why haven't I done this? Why don't I do this? Well, does it come down to the fact that I'm maybe not very certain? Am I not certain that it's the right thing to do? Am I not certain? Um, but who knows? We got people in the chat talking about, their various situations and the situation that they're in. And I think, you already kind of addressed this, but it's always, it's the simple answer, not that it's always easy, that there's always the next thing that you can do to get you a little bit more prepared, to get you a little bit more closer to where you want to be. There's always something that you can do. And as I'm sure you've experienced, I have experienced, and people will eventually experience, once you start doing the little do's piece by piece, the doing gets much easier. And you start doing bigger things. You start doing it faster. You start feeling more confident in your doing. So there you go. Like I said,
100% stronger.
pretty
Yeah,
simple.
everything becomes easier, brother. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Everything
No,
becomes easier. And it's building habits. Something that you start 6 months from now, you'll just now start to feel the effects. You have to
no.
put it in first. You got to put in the work first.
Right.
And, before any of this, I think it just depends on where people are. If you're in debt, you need to get out of debt.
Yeah.
Debt is awful, and we've been conditioned that that's completely okay. It's nightmare fuel. Get out
Yeah.
of debt, and then after that, start small. You can do stuff on a couple of acres. Let an acre too. But having food in the ground that grows,
Yeah.
perennials, not annuals. Having perennial food and potatoes, perennials that come back every year. Whether it's blueberries, I'll walk by the blueberries before we go. And give you an idea what's going on. These are the pigs, the red wattles in Berkshire. We got 10 piggies, 10 little piglets in there. And yeah,
Wow,
my
looking good.
least favorite job on the farm is castrating. It's a nightmare. It's horrible.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's 100% the worst. And I also, we process our own animals and stuff too, so it it makes you really appreciate where your food's coming from. But
Yeah.
that being said, it's time to start. We got to meet people where they are, and if where you are is just growing some stuff, learning how to grow things, and putting back some food, 3 gallons per person per day
Start
is
there.
basically
Start there.
3 gallons of water per person per day. How
You
many
know,
days? And
we
add
got a
that
lot
up.
of we got a lot of people. You're pumping them up, man. We got Monica from the Natural Liberty podcast saying she wants to get you on her show, so I'll let you guys get in contact. Will you remind me? Do you have like a YouTube channel or anything, or you're too busy doing stuff?
No, brother, I can't. I couldn't have a
Good
camera
for you.
follow me around all
Good
day
for
and do
you.
that stuff.
I know.
And
That's why
I'm,
calls on Clubhouse. That's why we're so blessed.
I'm just a private dude. I know that we could do the whole whatever Instagram family stuff. We're just too private. It just doesn't
Yeah.
work with operational security and things of that sort. But all right, so this year we dug swales. I think I told you about swales last time, but
You mentioned
water.
swell. Oh, I lost him. He disappeared. He's going out to the swales. The NSA doesn't want us to learn about swales. If I can remember, I think a swale is a type of dirt feature made of elevated and depressed elevations of dirt that collect water. Okay, he's back. He's back. Let's see. All right.
All right.
You're back. You're
So
back.
Doug,
Give us
I'm
swale.
sorry, buddy. It was my
Help us
fault. It's
out.
totally my fault.
No, that's okay. But we do have some callers to get to. So you tell us about the swales and land us on an inspirational note here.
I hear you, brother. Just be able to collect water instead of it just running down into the creeks. Collect it first. It feeds your aquifer, and then you plant the trees, plant the fruit on the berms, and it just makes it more drought proof. We're in a really bad drought. They're doing all right.
Oh yeah.
So having this type of stuff, learn how to grow some stuff, brother. Make sure you got some food put back. But I think the one takeaway, I'll leave you with this, is You just make a list of how many people are going where. Make a plan, talk with them, make sure that's their plan too, so you can act accordingly, and start doing the stuff. Make sure you got 3 gallons of water per person per day. How are you going to do it? Pretend camp. Turn off the light. Turn off the power. Do it for a day. You'll learn a lot. Do it for 2 days. You'll learn even more. So you need to act or be acted on.
Amen.
That's what we need. Bear
Amen.
Independent for more. I don't have any stuff like that for preparedness. Bear Independent, his YouTube channel. Check him out. His ministries are amazing. You know, Grindstone Ministries, disaster relief for free. And Caleb House is rescuing children from human trafficking and giving them a literal forever home. It's the hands and feet of the Most High. It's true work. You know, if you have anything to contribute, he's amazing. I don't have any affiliations with him. I just love the guy. I think it's great.
Amen. That's great. Well, Bear Independent, you say, sounds like a blast, man. Well, God bless you, Liberty Before Authority. It's great connecting with you again. Just a real treat to get have the Lord speak to each and every one of us through your seriousness, your confidence, but also that wisdom, man, that you really got to earn by doing. So God bless you. And you should call in again. Please do.
Thank you, brother. Do the stuff. It's time to do the stuff, everybody.
Do the stuff. It's the age of doing the stuff, folks. God bless. Talk to you later, buddy. There we go. Wow, this is an exciting day of callers here. And we still got more callers, too. All right. I'll say this is my fault. And I didn't make a deal about it earlier on. And I have just been enjoying myself too much for every caller. We got at least 3 more callers and one who keeps coming and leaving. So we'll see if they stick around. So I am going to be running the 10-minute timer in the background. It's again, not a hard limit, just a good way for me to be reminded that I am trying to not do a 4-hour episode with every caller. That's on me. Okay, we got another caller in the chat here. It is Sir James. Sir James calling in. Sir James, how are you, buddy? You're on the air.
Hello.
Hello.
Hold on for a minute. I got to take off this earpiece because it's probably going to die soon. Sorry
Okay.
about that.
What's going on with you today? Whoa.
Whoa. Can you hear me?
I'm getting an echo of my own voice coming back.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you great. Can you hear me now?
Well, I've been thinking about a lot of things. The conversation you guys were having about the bees.
Mm-hmm.
I remembered a while back during the whole crazy 2019 nightmare, if you will. That was the time that the Notre Dame Cathedral collapsed.
Mm-hmm.
Fire, mysteriously, right?
Right.
And everyone knows that it was a mysterious fire because when that cartoon came out, I Pet Goat 2, it depicted that cathedral collapsing almost exactly like it did.
Mm-hmm.
I bring all this up for a reason because I've been thinking with this and also the book I've been reading from Tim Cohen that I told you about last time I talked. That I think everything that is happening right now, I'm more and more certain that God is sovereign over all. I understand that. He's sovereign over all, everything. He's over everything. But if I'm understanding correctly, God is not getting directly involved in nations. In other words, he doesn't.
What brings you to that idea?
Well, I say that, for instance, the Notre Dame Cathedral fire. It's very obvious that there was principalities involved in that fire, right?
You mean principalities and powers, like spiritual entities lighting the fire, or just influencing those who set the fire?
Okay, so I would say if it's true that these principalities have no real power, they have to use human agency. They have to use humans to carry out their dirty work.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where I'm at on that level. So the way I see it, if I'm understanding correctly, God is allowing these principalities to basically allowing man to have a relationship with these principalities.
Yep.
If you know what I mean. So, and then
Yeah.
at the end, with the judgment coming, he will judge those principalities and also judge the humans that were involved in working with those principalities.
Yeah.
And I say all this because I remember a while back when that bizarre story broke about the crown of thorns being saved. And there was a picture at the time that was very popular, which I can't even find now. It's like gone in history, but it was a picture of the firefighters that were holding the crown, and on their coats was a bee. They had a bee on their firefighter uniform, right there on the cuff, right? And they made certain that when they took the photo that bee was prominent, right? So the whole thing with the bees, I don't quite understand. Like, okay, say hive mind, maybe connection to hive mind. But I mention all this because obviously we are dealing with principalities. Everything that's happening right now is principalities. This man Cohen has revealed some other things. Now, some of the stuff he's revealing, I haven't necessarily seen it in the book this particular book he wrote. Maybe this isn't a book that's coming, because he does mention he's creating a book.
Okay.
Or has a book called The Four Horsemen.
Yeah.
And he mentioned something that further is supporting my theory that God's not the one that's doing this. God's not the one that's actually bringing the four horsemen of the apocalypse. It's mankind and the principalities that are doing this.
Yeah, much like how God wasn't the one cursing Job and causing his skin to boil, and it was the allowance of God to the request of other spiritual entities. Those entities were the ones acting on Job, but they couldn't do it without permission of God.
But I mention all this because, funny, the timing of this with the previous guy that was on just now talking about preparing. Because what Tim Cohen said the other day on this podcast, Right On Radio, and he was mentioning about the black horse, which come to find out that what we consider to be the black horse is actually not a black horse. It is a cerulean blue color. And he mentioned a famous horse in Denver airport called Lucifer. And that horse, evidently at night, it has, they light up the eyes on this horse.
Right.
But all this because he's talking about, if what I'm understanding correctly, there are those people in very high places, if you will, in league with these principalities that seem like they're preparing for whatever this rollout of these horsemen, if you will. Like I said, I talked to you last time we talked, and I told you about the red horse and how there's statues seeming to point to North Korea being part of that red horse, United States being part of that red horse, maybe even Iran being part of that red horse. Well, what Tim Cohen had revealed the other day on Right On Radio was that there's this, just like you have the red horse symbolism, you have also the black horse. He mentioned that statue of Anubis literally did a tour around the world, and they did a depiction of Anubis as if he was like next to that Lucifer statue, as if he was riding that statue. So you already know the story about the black horse and who the rider on the black horse, right?
Mhm.
And he mentioned about the scales and how the scales go back to Egypt. The symbolism of the scales go back to Egypt. He also talked about the companies here in America. There's one called Blue Horse Logistics that handles our grain, that transports our grain throughout the United States. So if I'm understanding this correctly, this man claims, this is a claim he makes, is that we most likely are in the first year of the 7 years.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that might agree with you, or with him, I suppose.
So this brings me to what just recently happened at the White House, or at the meeting of course, the visit of this king.
Okay, we got a couple more minutes, so lay it on me.
So the king is most likely the Antichrist. He could be the Antichrist, or he could be, as the Bible says, many Antichrists.
Yeah, at least an Antichrist.
But that's not the only thing that he mentioned. The other thing he mentioned, and I would like for you, if you could, if you're interested, he talked about the shape of the kingdom of heaven that's coming down.
Mhm.
And he claims, this is him, I haven't actually found any research myself to verify this, but he claims that the shape is going to be a pyramidal structure.
Mm.
And that reminded me of a famous sci-fi movie that we all know. And that movie is Stargate.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is this, just to leave you with this thought. I know you got time short. Is it possible that we have been set up for a major deception to where the enemy has taken the actual true shape of God's kingdom, has taken it for his own? And because of the programming that we've been exposed to, we're going to think that the thing that comes down from heaven, if we do see this thing, we're going to think it's the enemy. We're going to think that it is evil when it's really good.
Yeah.
Because we've been conditioned to believe through the movies, like the Stargate movie, you had the Goa'uld, the aliens that were inside that pyramidal structure. I mention all this because I wonder, is it possible that the enemy is going to use this to basically do a big giant fake out to where people are expecting this shape to come down, and it's going to be this other shape coming down, and everyone's going to think that it's the enemy?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in many descriptions of the Great Deception and exactly how it rolls out is, if the armies of the world are going to go to battle with Jesus Christ and the Holy Host, they're gonna, if they knew it was Jesus and it was the Holy Host, it might be tough for the globalized militaries of the world to go fight against Jesus. Even only on a practical sense, if the only way that you could get the armies of the world to try to fight a physical battle against Christ coming on the clouds would be to convince them that he's something else, something he's not, that they're the aliens, that they're the this, they're the that. Yeah, it seems like a fairly practical way if it indeed unfolds that. That's might be one reason why they want us to believe that what people have thought were angels for centuries are actually aliens, to sort of set up the narrative that no, that guy on a horse, those bright shiny things coming down, you see those, that's not the return of Christ. Those are aliens and they're coming to kill you or something, whatever, who knows.
Right. I just mentioned all that because I do wonder why it was we got exposed to movies like Stargate, why it was that Steven Spielberg, the most popular film, or his very first popular film that he came out with, was Raiders of the Lost Ark. It just seems to me as if we're being prepared for a lot of things.
Once you have eyes to see, buddy, you can see it all unfold in front of you.
Yeah.
Appreciate you calling in, man, laying it out for us. Thanks for
think about that. Is it possible that maybe this shape that we've been sort of conditioned to believe is evil is in reality could be the shape?
That is interesting. I'd be interested to hear his argument about why it's a pyramid. My understanding was always that New Jerusalem was a cube. I think it gives various dimensions in the shape of a cube.
Right. So you've got that whole cube shape as well. So it's like, well, which one is it?
Right.
Is it going to be the pyramid? I got a funny feeling we may have been bamboozled.
Yeah, the enemy is quite good at bamboozling, buddy. Well, we'll keep an eye out, man. It's great talking to you. Thanks for coming on the show today, buddy. I'll talk to you next time.
Thank you very much.
God bless. Yeah, it's so funny. The it's almost too difficult to hold the entire timeline of biblical prophecy in your head at once. It's so, I mean, you see this all the time, either online or on podcasts or something. The conversation gets going about end times prophecy, and it's sort of taken frame by frame or scene by scene. But again, zooming out, trying to take in the whole timeline at once, it as God always loves to do, present more questions than answers. He's just a little rascal like that. Okay, we got Sir David G. And then after that, we got Faye. Okay, a couple more. Here we go. Sir David G on the line. What's up, buddy? Let me hit this timer. Go. Oh, yo.
Hey, how's it going?
Going good, man. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Great. I'm going to make this fast. I'm going to talk real fast, okay? To make sure we hit that 10 minutes.
Let's go.
I'm kidding. But in the vein of preparation and doing the thing, Liberty, I forget his name. I'm sorry.
Natural Liberty. No. That's Monica's thing. Liberty before authority.
Yeah. Great. That was a great call. But in that same vein, I had been against church for so long, and then every church I went to wasn't the right church. And then, finally I had been humbled enough to just go somewhere, and nothing's perfect. It will never be perfect. Stop being proud. Amen. And so I started going to this church, but I feel like another thing that's missing is the women always seem to be good at, grouping up and doing things, but the men seem to be very, I don't know if we've been emasculated by the culture. I don't really know what's going on. All I know is I see a problem, and instead of complaining, I'm finally trying to do something about it. So as a word of encouragement, that I see something lacking in the church, and now I have gone through the proper channels at this church, and they want me to start this men's group because I've been asking around, talking to people. And so instead of depending on somebody else to do it, I feel like God has called me to this place and this position. Okay, you see something lacking, now do something about it. Stop complaining, stop pretending like everything has to be perfect and everybody has to see everything that you see. And, this could also be a position of, not just for me, but anybody out there who's in maybe a similar position and a similar way of thinking, is that this could be our opportunity to present these things that we have been prepared to see. And like, maybe that's part of it is not only do we need to get out there and do the work in building the kingdom instead of just sitting back and watching it all, happen around us, but maybe part of what we need to be doing is to actively be talking to people about these things and helping them to see. And if they don't, that's okay too. But, we're to serve and just get out there and do it. If you see something lacking, just get out there, start talking to people. I know it's hard. Trust me, I know it's hard. It's not easy for me. But it came to a point to where I had to stop just sitting back and complaining and actually start trying to seek these things out and the opportunity presented itself, and so now here I am. So
Amen.
anyway,
Amen, brother. No, I
that's
love
pretty
that.
much it.
Yeah. It was just the last week or the last couple weeks that we had this conversation about the men's group thing, the men's
Oh
group
yeah, that's right.
situation. Yeah, and it's I mean, God bless you. You're putting faith not only in God but putting my faith back in humanity here. It is the time of just doing, and so rarely does a conversation happen on the show about doing something and it actually gets done. So God bless you for
Right, and it's
for doing.
and it has some to do also with the group, right? The podcast group.
Yeah.
Because that's yet another thing that I've been just thinking about and just not doing it. And sometimes it just takes a little nudge, and it takes some accountability. Sometimes you have to put these ideas out there. I want to do this thing, and then tell somebody I'm going to do this thing, just to hold yourself accountable and make sure that you're going to follow through.
Yeah. You know, I love it. It's just coming from the influences I've had so far on this episode. I remember in a previous conversation, I was kind of telling the story about, at least when I was, younger and more intimately involved in church leadership, when it came to putting on a men's group. So many of the curriculums were kind of like military based, like Band of Brothers, like trying to brand the kind of group in a masculine way that would convince the husbands to actually want to get together. With Liberty Before Authorities thing, I mean, if we're talking doing, having even a group of guys together to stay accountable or get projects done or something, to like seriously do and take steps to prepare for really anything is I mean, shoot, I would join that men's group for sure. But I love to hear that you went through the right channels and you got the blessing to get going on it, man. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm excited and extremely nervous. I feel completely unqualified to do it, but like David, I'm gonna face that Goliath with my tiny little stone in my sling, and just rely on God 100%, because bro, I have nothing.
You
When
know,
it comes down to it, I have nothing.
amen.
But whatever happens, it's all gonna be because of him.
It's interesting. And sorry, this is not me trying to tell you what to do, but it's the pieces coming together in my head live here, because I remember in the men's groups that I was involved with, there was always this kind of like, okay, we'll get together. We sit in a circle in our living room and, we'll kind of do a little Bible study thing. And so many times it was great. I mean, it was much better once men start opening up to each other, because when men really find a reason and find that place of other men that they trust, then amazing things happen. But it was just not, I guess, not so recent, but it was brought up recently. In my space, that the actual social science between how women operate in a group versus how men operate in a group, and women operate really well in a group in sort of a social cohesion where interacting, the interest is in the other women, and they like, having the interest in them, and it's sort of just the presence and the structure for women to interact socially, is a little bit more as you'd expect, or at least as we've been led to expect. And with men, building relationship and building trust with one another is much more accomplished when they are accomplishing a task together, when they are doing together. Think of a work site, think of a sort of platoon or something. And there's like very strong psychological and not psychological, what's the word, I don't know, chemical, I guess, chemical release of bonding when men are sort of working together towards a single goal. And I mean, shoot, if preparing for the apocalypse is not a great goal for men to get together and do, because every guy wants to be a prepper. I mean, really, every guy
Yes.
wants to be a prepper. And I could see, even if it's not the focus of maybe the group or the focus of the curriculum, you know, you get a bunch of guys together, every single guy in that group is going to be like, yeah, I just want to be prepared to care for my family if the food goes, or I want to
hmm
have the water ready, you know, for these sort of noble masculine reasons. And yet 99% of men who even they might even think of themselves as a good prepper, you know, will have this like ancient God-given just draw to prepare for the worst. And that might be a good thing to bring up. Just saying, if your men's group turns into like a prepper group, I think that's just as successful. Plus, it gives you an opportunity to like talk about, you know, the Bible and prophecy and all
Yep.
that kind of stuff. So you might inspire me. I might have to give it a go too. Well, good,
Well, I mean,
man.
that's definitely an element of it. That's definitely an
Yeah,
element of it. But
for sure.
I do have one last thing to say, and then I'll go. The theme of it that I've come up because I've been jotting down a bunch of notes and thinking about it a lot. And one of the, I guess, the overarching theme of it that I would like to get across through this group is building the kingdom through acts of service.
Yeah,
Um,
that's great.
and that has because I remember now that you're talking. I remember you're the guy who inspired me to think of that in relation to the men's groups, that doing things together is what men tend to bond over. So that's kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
anyway.
That's great, man. No, that's perfect. That's
Yeah.
absolutely perfect. Yeah. Well, God bless you, dude. I send you forth with prayers and praise. I think I'd love to keep hearing about how that's going and what comes out of it. And I also want to lift you up as a great example of somebody who's just doing the thing, man. You needed something, you wanted something, you did it. It's not easy. It's so easy for us to think of all the reasons why we're not qualified, or you know, we don't have the time or the resources, or treating these things just as fantasies, taking a little bit of pleasure or dopamine from thinking about them and talking about them, and then just inevitably letting them go. I just really want to honor you for following through on that, buddy.
Well, thanks, man. I don't want to die without giving it a try. You know what I mean?
Amen. Amen.
Oh,
Well, God bless you, Sir David G. Thank you so much.
you
And
too, bud.
yeah, excited to work with you even more on the podcast boot camp thing.
Yeah, great. I'm looking forward to all of it. Thanks for all the encouragement. Thanks for this community. I really love all you guys. So God bless.
You bet. You bet, buddy. God bless you. Take it easy. Booyah. Guys, it is so rare that somebody actually does something. I cannot tell you. And I don't mean this to be mean to anybody. I'm not picking on anybody. If I'm picking on anybody, I'm picking on myself. The infinite number of things that I've talked about doing on this show over the 12, oh my gosh, almost 15 years that never got finished, right? It's innumerable. It is a shame I carry with me. And the amount of things that I've talked about with someone else. And we have some pretty good ideas. We got a pretty good idea about making something happen. So rare. Does anything ever get done? And he referenced it there at the end. And I'll share with you guys, Clubhouse, because of course, you guys should know about it if you've been keeping up with the show. But Rod from Millennial Mustard Seed Podcast and myself back in like December talked about getting a small group of people together who had felt they were called, like truly called, to do something. It's in the context of, you know, like making a podcast or something, but it could be any number of things. And I'm happy and nervous to announce that steps have been taken. Things are getting started. It'll start any day now. The gang has come together. And if you were somebody who reached out back in December or whatever and said you wanted to be involved, if you have not, I've sent you an email, basil.rosewater@gmail.com, and you should have received an invitation from the platform that we are using to coordinate this. And if you are someone who reached out and you did not receive those things from me, send me an email and I'll check the records. And I don't want anybody to get left out who reached out back when we had the window open for reaching out. Okay. So you can email me if you are not yet received that invitation. Okay. We got one more caller hanging out. It is the one, the only, Miss Faye. I'm bringing you up, Miss Faye. How are you, Faye? Great to see you. Great to talk to you again.
Hi, Baz. I'm on my phone today, and can you hear me?
You sound good. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. Such I love how these shows take a theme, and yeah, people piggyback on that, and man, just to put things. I'm not going to be a Debbie Downer because it's scripture, but I am reminded. So, and this, especially, there's a city people. We're not relocating. We're not going out to the country. We're not raising goats. We're where we are.
Right.
And that to say, I love gardening. I have my little garden out here. I've got all my lettuces planted. But I think it's going to be there's one prep. There's one prep. And and when I read this, because I was in the height of my prepper phase, and I also did the mental experience of, society collapse. Well, what do we do? Where do we go? And if you take the experiment far enough, all you end up with is Jesus. Because if they want to get you, they're going to get you.
Right.
They're going to build a data center next to your land and ruin the water and ruin the electricity and the property values. Then all you have is Jesus after that.
Yeah.
So just grab Jesus now. Because we know, okay, so here's our, famous Sermon on the Mount. Look at the birds of the air, for they neither sow, nor reap, nor gather into the barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not of more value than they? So which of you by worry can add 1 cubit to his stature? And this is my favorite prepper verse. This is verse 24 of chapter 7 of Matthew. Here's my favorite prepper verse.
Okay.
Therefore, whoever hears these sayings of mine, and this is the last thing he says after the Sermon on the Mount, the, Gospel 101. He says, I will liken them to a wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house. And it did not fall, for it was founded on the rock. So our prep right now is to do these words, memorize Matthew 5-7 for when they take our Bibles away. And when you do these words, you will stand. That's a promise. That's money in the bank. That's worth all of, the crops in my backyard and everybody else's.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah, it is. So, that encourages me, but I really think the system, there's spraying aluminum and barium overhead. They didn't spray today, but my garden group, we're noticing the effect on our plants. Our plants are harder to grow. It's harder to get yields now than it was even 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It's harder. There's more diseases. There's more bugs. It's and things change from year to year naturally, but the overall arch is since I've been gardening about 15 years now, it's harder to get the volume that I once used to get. So we just it's not doom and gloom because we do have Jesus. And I think the design in God's redemptive purpose is to make it so that he is all we have. He's the thing that we depend on for our bread every day. It's probably going to get to that point. So we need to make sure our faith is ready. So my prayer is, God, when that day comes, which it seems like it's coming soon, let my faith be ready, so that I'm standing on the rock. Let my faith be ready for whatever trial comes. And, some of us are dependent on medications, and I can't worry about that because it's very possible that I might not get access to that stuff.
Yeah.
It's people could worry about that. I have to throw my faith at that one. So,
Yeah. Amen.
But so that was rolling through my head, and I know these guys are people of faith, but don't just throw lip service at it. It's like the faith has to be the number one thing. Thing.
I love that, because for those who've been around for a little while, this show, Canary Cry Clubhouse, used to be a different show called Basil's Bunker, which is a very similar show, but just, we're having more fun with prepping and stuff like that. And those conversations and that show inevitably had to deal with. I started it because it was fun, and there's a lot of stuff to talk about, and of course I'm interested, blah 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 blah. But the real situation when it comes to prepping, like the reality of it, always came back to none of that matters if you're not spiritually prepped. More than anything, more than the loss of food or the loss of water or this or that or that, when the time comes, the biggest danger is going to be to our souls. And the preparation of our souls, of course, we'd all know, is more important than the sort of material preparation. But even any physical or material preparation, any physical or material skills, any chance that we have when the time comes, will all be downstream of our spiritual preparation. And when Liberty Before Authority was calling in, obviously a dude who is living the prepper dream. Anybody in our generation, I've talked about it before, millennials, Gen X, our best case scenario for imagining our future lives when we were kids, it was always off the grid with the goats, and it was always every single one of us. Okay, so let me be clear. that was a vision we all had. But, the world is what it is, and God has us where he wants us. So yes, it's not realistic for 99% of people to do the total off-grid goat herder thing. God bless those who God does have in that position or is drawing towards that position. But we're all exactly where God has us now. And we can only survive in those cases as a downstream effect of our spiritual preparation. Because you could be the coolest off-grid goat herder with the trees and the water and the this and everything. But when everything falls apart, and if you don't have Christ, you're a goner anyways, in all sorts of creative ways.
Yeah.
What is even the reason for being prepared if your soul is not prepared at that moment? And of course, ultimately, we can never physically prepare for anything that God couldn't so simply deliver us from, like the scripture that you say, and he has a different plan for all of us. And wherever God has any of us in that day is exactly where we are, because he put us there to ultimately bring glory to him. So go ahead.
Well, that was exactly it. Like during COVID, my husband and I were in a place where, hey, do you want to move out of here? Do you want to get out of here? And I had all of those, prepper dreams. I am a gardener. preserve my food, all this stuff. Yes, wow, how great would that be to go get our own land? And then through praying about it and asking what I'm called to, God has me in a place. I already have all these relationships in this community. When things go bad, who's going to bring the gospel to my next door neighbor with all the signs in their yard? Who's going to take care of my 70-year-old neighbor over here? All these parents in the scout troop that trust my husband and I with their kids. We have such an opportunity when things happen, and they already know the kind of people we are. But these relationships, these are people who may or may not enter the kingdom of heaven, but we're in their lives and we can have a say in that. If we're called, and so we realize we're called to be here. We're called to be with the people we have relationships with right now because they're going to need us.
Yeah.
And so for me,
you are the preservation that God has put into your community there.
So, at the end of the day, I'm not going to go 100 miles away from this and not have anybody except, animals. That's not what I'm called to. There's probably, that's just not. So we're going to be city people, and we're going to bunker down in the city, and we're going to see what happens. And God, I wish it wasn't this city, but it is. So well,
for those who may have missed some of your previous calls, you're in the Minneapolis area, correct?
Yes, right outside the Minneapolis area. And and while we were, focusing on all the ICE stuff, they were passing legislation to copper sulfide mine our precious boundary waters, and they've got 5 data centers slated in the 50-mile radius. So, like, when I say they could plop a data center next to you and make your property worthless, that's because that's what we're looking at over here. They are really intent on the, Midwestern Great Lakes River states.
Yeah.
And so that's, that's very real. So what they are just, this accelerationism is nuts. It's nuts. The King Trump thing is nuts. Just where it's all going, you can see where it's all going. And I'm just so thankful that we get to have a community that has the kingdom perspective, that we know this isn't it, that we know that, where we're going to spend eternity and it's going to be redeemed, and we don't have to feel too bad about the environmental stuff because we get a new environment.
Well, amen. And you kind of alluded to it, earlier and a little bit just now, because if you're not called off the grid and out in the country, then to go off grid and out in the country would be taking things into your own hands, and that's the last thing that we want to do. And of course, that being said, we all do still have that prepper instinct in us, and there are the reasonable things that we have access to that would be helpful in our situation, which you're doing the gardening, you're doing the this, you're doing the that. For those who may have the prepper instinct, but you're in the city and you're going, oh no, I can't get the well water and I can't get to this. There are 1,000,001 things that you can do for you and your family that do not require animal husbandry. And the Lord will guide you to those things, and he will put those things on your heart, So nobody's missing out on anything if God doesn't have them in the place they imagined for themselves.
Yes, and I can tell the hearts of the people who are making preparations. You can tell that they want to share it and take care of people. So, God bless those efforts. But yeah, the stuff I do, I do because I love it. I'm just a gardener. And my husband, let's see.
I'll tell you what, I am not a gardener. I have talked about this. Oh, look at that. What do you got there?
Yeah, my husband is making me some garden beds. So
what a crafty guy. Oh, those are good looking too. That's
we
quite
have to build a rat cage because the squirrels come in, the pestilence comes in and
Yeah.
eats everything. So we have to cover this with chicken wire so the squirrels can't eat everything.
The enemy prowls looking to eat your bounty. Very similar at my place too. And you know what? I've almost bragged about how bad I am at gardening, and my garden boxes have been laid fallow for now 2 years. And I finally came to the realization and the situation where I have basically just handed my garden beds over to my neighbors. And
But they love that.
they love it. They absolutely are obsessed with it. And they're out there a couple times a week doing the thing. And I'm like, this is best case scenario, because especially in our many journeys into the theory of prepping, of course, after your spiritual preparation, the next most important thing is your community preparation.
Your community. Yes.
Other human beings, okay? We're not going to make it alone. The more human beings you have on your team working together, the better off you're going to be. So that's been, I was kind of sitting here a little down because I hadn't accomplished any cool prepper things recently. But then I remembered, no, I've been building my community.
Absolutely.
And it's a blast. We'll be sharing the bounty here, hopefully.
Yeah, that's going to bear fruit in more ways than one.
Amen. Amen, sister. Well, God bless you for calling in. Was there anything else on your mind before we land the plane here?
Oh, no. Just things are kind of a little bit calm. So just, yeah. Things, but not calm in the spirit. And so just trying to pay attention to that.
Yeah. Amen. Amen. Well, I'm glad that you're part of our community here, Faye. I know there's a lot of people out there in the chat and often podcast world who needed to hear from you at this very moment, of course. So God bless you, and I hope I talk to you again soon.
Yeah, we're going to be okay, city dwellers. We're going to be okay.
You're going to be okay. He's got the whole world in his hands.
Yes. Amen.
All right. Thank you, Faye. I'll talk to you next time. Calling again.
Okay. See ya.
Bye. See, folks, it's all going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. If you remember, that's how I started this whole year. Okay. Don't freak out. All I do is freak out and think about the current situation, the future situation, putting the dots together, following step by step as the world marches into a not so favorable future. And it was the beginning of this year as I lay and pray and ask God to just take the situation over, because I am not in control and I do not know the things that I want to know. And the message received was, everything's gonna be fine. Now, when God says everything's gonna be fine, it would be hubris for me to think that I know exactly what that means and exactly what that looks like. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what that means, but I do know that if God's saying everything's fine, I have no choice and want no other choice than to agree with him. Okay? So everything's going to be fine. He has us all exactly where he wants us. And if he has put something on your heart, that's part of the thing. Look, we may not be enjoying the place where we are. We may feel that we need to make moves, go somewhere else, do something else. And I'm here to tell you that if God has put that on your heart to go out into the country, to get the goats, or whatever that means for you, that is also from God. Okay? Well, one of the more constant questions that I have received over my now multiple decades of official ministry, not just podcasting, but church leadership and things like that. So people really, really, really desire to know how and when to hear from God. Of course, we all prefer to hear a booming, audible voice and a flash of light, sort of road to Damascus physical manifestation of the spiritual realm, because that would give us the certainty that our material brains desire. But if we're very, very quiet and we take a lot of time developing sensitivity, oftentimes the thing that you're trying to hear from God, you've been hearing for a long time. You just didn't know that it was God. And that can take many forms. He gives us the desires of our hearts. He gives us the desires of our hearts. What does your heart desire? Is it that he gives us everything we want? Obviously not. Or is there something about the things that our heart desires that we just can't let go of? We know are in line. That is the real things that we yearn for. Do we yearn for them because God has given us those desires? And maybe sometimes one, maybe sometimes the other. And that's when being a good listener helps. So I pray that everybody out there has opportunities to develop and practice simply listening and paying attention. Some people are lucky. Some people are lucky things just happen. Some people are lucky they receive God's instruction through, things like coinkydinks or, I don't know, checks in the mail or something. But he can do it 1.5 million ways. But if we're not keeping an ear out, if we're not confident and faithful, if we don't have faith that he can participate and communicate with us in any way he wants, we can very easily miss it. I've done it for years. We've all had the experience. But everything's going to be fine. All right. I think that's about it. We got no more callers in the waiting room here. We're going to land this plane, baby. 2.5 hours. There we go. We made it. We did it. We'll do another one of these next Thursday live here for Canary Cry Clubhouse, of course. Big shout out to everybody who catches the show afterwards. Maybe you listen on the podcast version. God bless you. Have a blast. Oh, yeah. Here's Feeding the Ducks. There we go. Let the sweet, sweet beat take the show out. Send us out to sea. Yeah. Do one thing. Do one thing in the next 7 days that you should do. Maybe it's prepping. Maybe there's one prepper thing that you can do, that you should do. Go ahead and do it and call in next Thursday. Tell me about it. Oh, text message alert system. I got a text message from 706 who says, can't wait to listen after work. Have an awesome time, Basil and Canarians. Praise report. 10 days free from alcohol and 14 days on the other side of the toxic relationship. Jesus Christ, my constant friend and support. I found a local Bible-teaching church and a new, older female friend. God is good. Amen. 706. Thank you for the praise report. I love those. I like those. Send in your praise reports. Text message alert system. Thank you to 706 for that. All right, everybody. Remember, text the word Canary to 877-740-3226. Canary Cry News Talk will be back on Monday. But until then, think outside the cage.